yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day 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 day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day 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 day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day 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 day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Yada day day yada day day day. Yada day 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 day. Yada day day yada day 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 oh. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Elise and I'm Wilderness Torah's Operations and Special Projects Manager. I'd like to introduce myself and welcome you to Virtual Village. At this time, we are looking towards the natural world and asking, what can this time teach us? As part of the awakening the earth-based traditions of Judaism, Wilderness Torah creates village life during our immersive land-based festivals, such as Passover in the desert, by uplifting and encouraging the individual gifts of the collective community. 4 times a week in this virtual village, you will learn with Wilderness Torah community members who are sharing their gifts, as well as longtime stakeholders in the earth-based Judaism movement. We are committed to keeping Virtual Village accessible and free. If you would like to support Wilderness Torah in this effort, we welcome any and all donations, big or small, as we endeavor to provide Jewish wisdom and community building through this difficult time. If you are new to Wilderness Torah and would like to find out more about what we do and how to get involved, my peer Ilana will put the link to our website and donation page into the chat now. This session, as all of our Virtual Village sessions, is being recorded and live streamed to Facebook. We'll be uploading recorded sessions to our website, so check back about a week afterwards, or if you've missed any other ones and you'd like to check them out, you can look there. We are super excited to welcome Rebecca Schistler for today's class. Rebecca is a mindfulness teacher and a Jewish educator. She teaches with Or Halev and was previously a lead mentor in Wilderness Torah's youth programs. All right, Rebecca, I'm going to spotlight you and you can go ahead.
All right. Hello. Just scrolling through, looking at sweet faces. Really, really happy to be here. I'm currently living in Jerusalem, but miss the Wilderness Torah family a whole lot. So it's an honor. And what I have to offer today, I'm calling this mindfulness-based skills for emotional intelligence and resiliency. To me, it has everything to do with earth-based Judaism, because it's really, what it really is about is understanding that our bodies and minds and hearts and souls are all working together in an integrated system, as a part of all other systems and all other bodies and the planet. And when we cultivate self-awareness through some of these practices, we can begin to understand how to optimize how that system is functioning, and or begin to understand how that system is functioning, and then how to optimize the functioning of our system, how to basically have health and well-being from a place of wisdom and compassion. So I have a lot of passion for this stuff. I taught this stuff in schools in the Bay Area, low-income schools, where I witnessed a lot of transformation. So I'm very happy to share it with you. You know, we're living in challenging times, and when there's a crisis, there's a lot of potential for finding ourselves contending with strong emotions, or finding ourselves in a state of emotional reactivity. And so that's where emotional intelligence becomes really, really, really helpful. And when I talk about emotional intelligence, just to define that, part of it has to do with getting to know our emotions really, really well, so that we can actually be self-aware when we're having an emotional experience, which we aren't all the time, so that we can actually identify what's happening. And then the second part of emotional intelligence has to do with learning how to respond skillfully and lovingly to our emotions when they're visiting us. I like to say our emotions are visiting us. They come and they go. They don't last forever. They're like friends that visit. And so we can learn how to respond in such a way that allows that emotion to move through us in a healthy way, so it doesn't get stuck or exacerbated or lead us to act out from a place of reactivity, which usually doesn't have the best outcome for ourselves or whoever we're relating to. And of course, that's very easy to say. It's like a really, really nice idea, but it can actually be quite hard to do that, to respond from that place of wisdom and care when we're having a difficult emotional experience. So I actually want to share a tiny bit of brain science to help us understand and to illustrate a little bit what's going on when that's happening, when that strong emotional experience is happening. Definitely not a brain scientist by any means. I don't claim to be, but there are two parts of the brain that are really helpful and important when we're talking about emotional intelligence and when we're talking about mindfulness. So there's a doctor who's super awesome. His name is Dan Siegel. He created something called the Mind Life Institute. He's done a lot of work with children and educators and on the adolescent brain. And he developed something called the hand model of the brain. So you can actually do it with me. And I encourage you to do it if you want to. It helps to kind of really anchor in the concept. So if you hold up your hand like this, it kind of looks like a brain. And he kind of simplified a lot of what the brain is into just two aspects of the brain, as I said, that are really important to understand. He simplified it into the upstairs brain up here and the downstairs brain. So the upstairs brain is our cortex, specifically the prefrontal cortex. And this is the part of the brain that thinks complex thoughts and feels empathy for other people and can creatively problem solve and think rationally and reasonably. And this is the part of the brain that grows. Actually, mindfulness practice can help us grow this part of the brain. And then this part down here, if you open up the hand model of the brain, this part, he calls it the downstairs brain. This is our limbic brainstem, which is connected to our autonomic nervous system and our emotions. And it's this very old reptilian part of the brain that helps us survive. So it's super, super, super important, this downstairs brain. It's really important to survive. Our brain wants to help us survive. And this is, as I said, it's our oldest part. It's the part that's the most developed in babies. So what happens when a baby doesn't get what they want? Maybe you can show me on your screen. What happens if you're a baby and you don't get what you want? What do you do? You cry, you freak out, you throw a temper tantrum. That's because that alarm, it's like an alarm button that's going off in the limbic brain. So hopefully if I'm 28, not really a baby anymore. If I don't get what I want, hopefully I'm not going to cry and freak out and throw a temper tantrum. Hopefully I'm going to be able to take a deep breath, kind of calm myself down and respond in a logical way. So as I said, this is like an alarm system that helps us survive. And survival is really important. You know, if I'm in the jungle facing a tiger, I don't want to stop and think about my options and consider all the different opinions of, all the different rabbis in the Talmud or whatever. I want to run or I want to play dead. I want to react. I want that instinct to kick in that's going to actually help me survive. The problem is we're kind of hardwired. It's like we've habituated this response that is as if we're in danger and we're trying to survive all the time, meaning that oftentimes this alarm button in the downstairs brain is going off when we're not actually in danger, but the brain is literally responding as if we are. For instance, I'm having a conversation with a friend, or actually to share a more personal story, like I hear someone making sounds when they eat, and for some reason that triggers me because it reminds me of some really bad memory I had. I'm literally responding as if I'm facing a tiger in the jungle. I'm responding as if my life is in danger from a neurological place. And that's problematic. If alarms are going off all the time, how would that feel? It would feel really stressful. We'd probably be on edge a lot and quick to react and say things we don't mean or freak out. So when this alarm button goes off, Dan Siegel calls this flipping your lid. That's what he says. When that downstairs brain goes off, it's like that fight, flight, or freeze kicks in because we've been triggered. He calls it flipping our lid. And when that happens, this downstairs part of the brain, that limbic region, actually becomes disintegrated from the cortex, the part of our brain that can think complex thoughts, feel empathy, be reasonable. We literally don't have access to this upstairs brain when we're in that moment. And so what that means is that when we're in a really emotional state and we're triggered and that alarm button is going off, it's not the moment to take action. It's not the moment to make a big decision. It's not the moment to try to have a conversation with someone, especially a difficult conversation, or try to engage in some kind of constructive conflict. It's the moment to notice that it's happening, to pause, and to re-regulate our nervous system, which we can really do through the breath, so that those two parts of the brain can be reintegrated and the cortex can come online and we can actually respond in a way that we want to, rather than just in a reactive place where we're more likely to create more harm than good. So the good news is there are tools that we can learn, that we can use to do a few things. One, to help us proactively, so that we don't flip our lid. We can start to become aware when that alarm starts to go off so that we can re-regulate and stay integrated, stay mindful and present and aware. And two, to help us come back when we do flip our lid, which does happen. We're all human. It happens in so many ways to all of us, and it's totally okay. And we can actually, there are some resources we can use to help us come back, to help us get back in the driver's seat. And three, also, maybe we also need a tool to actually discern when am I in danger, right? Sometimes, as I said, that downstairs brain is really important. And when we're actually in danger, we don't want to think about it. We want to react. So mindfulness can help us do that too. It can help us discern in that moment, when is something actually a threat and a danger? And when is it just that we're in a conversation with someone and our brain and our body actually thinks we're in danger and we're not. So it's not the moment to react. Most of the time, we're not actually in danger. That's really, really key. Okay, so this is where mindfulness comes in. And I haven't been on this before. I'm not sure, is there a possibility for this to be interactive where like people could turn on their microphones and respond? Yeah, amazing, great. Okay, so can anyone define mindfulness? Anybody know, what does mindfulness mean? I'm sure someone knows what mindfulness means. You guys are in the Bay Area.
Pat, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to share.
I just experience it as just being present and not putting anything out on whatever I'm experiencing, just experiencing it and letting things come and watching them, letting them go. And of course, it's what usually happens is you get caught up on something and you follow a thought and you're all of a sudden you're not mindful anymore. You're in this thought. So you just have to come back and kind of get to that place again to let things come and go and watch. That's what mindfulness, kind of that feeling of mindfulness is to me. And it happens when, when I sit, when I meditate, or when I try to be like that, just walking in the woods or anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Pat. Would anybody else like to share how you understand mindfulness, what that means? All right, well, Pat said a lot of it. The definition that I really like to use.
Aaron wants to share.
Oh, okay, great.
No worries. Just
Aaron.
The only thing that I would add, which is like really eloquently put, Pat eloquently put, is just a complete devotion to the present moment, a complete devotion to what one is doing and what one is feeling at a given time, not to be taken over by the past or the future, but it's kind of a state of flow with what's present. There's a famous psychologist named Csikszentmihalyi who gave a TED talk about kind of the creativity or the creative aspect of flow, and when you're totally like in the zone, and you're super mindful. So that's what I would add.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that. Yes. To make it really simple, a definition that I really love to use as one that came from John Kabat-Zinn, who developed mindfulness-based stress reduction. And he says that mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So paying attention on purpose to this moment, to reality, to what is happening without judgment. And this without judgment piece is really important. I wonder if anyone has any idea about that. Like, why would it be important to take a moment or to have a practice of noticing what is happening and suspending our judgment? Meaning, we're not making meaning, we're not commentating, we're not saying this is right or this is wrong or this is good or this is bad. What would be important about that?
If you have ideas, just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I think for me, when I make a judgment, it's like I'm putting something out on the moment. Excuse me. I'm adding something to it, and so I'm liable to miss what's really there. I mean, because I'm covering it with a judgment is something I'm painting over my experience.
Thank you, Pat. Absolutely. We tend to create these like filters on reality, right? So it's almost as if when we're responding to whatever's happening, often we're actually responding to what we think is happening or what we think about what is happening rather than what is actually happening. Anybody else want to share any ideas? Why would it be important to suspend judgment in the practice of mindfulness?
It would allow yourself to actually learn from the present moment because you're taking in just what it is that is happening and not, I mean, it's rephrasing of what you just said of that you're not attaching all of your context to it. You're allowing some stepping back from that context, at least for that time being, so that you can see it for what it is.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Sarah Elise. So, they say there's like a Hasidic teaching that you can read the Torah as if all of the characters in the Torah are or maybe it's Jungian. Maybe it's Jungian and Hasidic, whatever. You can read the Torah as if all the characters in the Torah actually exist inside of you, like they're all parts of you, right? And I would like to include the Talmud in that. We can actually consider that all those rabbis in the Talmud who are constantly arguing with each other and like saying different things about everything and contradicting each other, and some of them are crazy, those all exist inside of us too. Our mind is like this. Our mind, I guess I can just speak for my own mind. My mind is totally nuts. My mind is totally crazy. I think it was a Hasidic rabbi. I don't remember the one who said that, like, the only difference between us. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I thought I was on mute.
All good. The only difference between us and a crazy person is who gets like institutionalized or whatever is that we don't, or someone who's considered crazy and someone who's not, is that someone who's not doesn't just say there's a filter there, right? So that all those voices in the head don't just like come out all the time. But we all have this mind. And the mind is constantly commentating on reality. It's constantly making judgments, and it's not a bad thing. I don't mean to judge the judgment either. The mind generates thoughts like the mouth generates saliva. It's actually what it does. It's how it functions. And again, we don't want to judge that aspect of the mind, but we do want to become aware that it's happening so that we can create some space around it. And that's really where our power is. Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor and a psychologist and an author, he has this really famous quote. Maybe you've heard it. He says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So when we can take a moment to suspend that judgment, that's how we can create that space between whatever's happening, to become more aware, to become more aware of reality rather than what we think about it based on our past, basically based on our conditioning. And from there, really make an empowered choice as to how to respond rather than react. The way that we can do that, the way that we can create that space is by becoming mindful of the body. So the body is our gateway to presence. The mind is everywhere. The mind is in the past, the mind is in the future, the mind is making comments. The body is always here. It's always in the present moment, always now. And when we can bring our attention on purpose to our senses, to whatever we're feeling, hearing, seeing, tasting, whatever it is, that's being mindful of the present moment. So enough talking about it. I would like to actually lead you through a short mindful sit. So I want to invite you to first start with the body and find a position that is both comfortable and relaxed and also alert. So I invite you to close your eyes. If there's anything in your hands, you can put it down. And find that posture that is both relaxed and alert. It helps to feel maybe a sense of lift in the spine, if that's a possibility for you. Feel the weight of gravity. Notice the place where your body is making contact with the surface of a seat, maybe the feet on the floor. Notice if there's any tension anywhere. See if you can just relax it a little bit. And I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. So it really helps to find a place in the body where you can feel physical sensations of breathing. And that could be the nose, noticing cool air as you inhale, a rush of warm air as you breathe out. Or maybe you can feel it in the lungs, feeling the rise and fall of the chest, or the belly as you breathe in and out. So just noticing these physical sensations of the breath, allowing the breath to be soft and gentle. And allow this place in the body where you can feel the breath to be like an anchor spot, anchoring your attention in this moment, the present moment. And when the mind wanders away, like clouds in the sky or waves on the sea, just notice thinking is happening. And gently come back to the breath again and again. It's very natural for the mind to wander. Thoughts arise, perhaps emotions arise or sensations arise. All of it arising just like clouds moving across the sky. And we don't have to do anything about it. We're just noticing, aware that it's happening, and returning to the breath, returning to the present moment. Again and again. With a kind of gentle commitment. Just to keep coming back. And this is the practice. It's very simple. The mind has wandered away. Just come back to the breath without judgment. Again and again, returning to the present moment. Noticing whatever arises in the field of awareness. A thought, a judgment, a feeling. Allowing all of it to arise and pass away. And returning to the breath again and again. Just noticing whatever is here without judgment. For the last few minutes of this very brief mindful sit, I want to invite you to try another practice, which is a counting practice. And see if you can count to 10, full deep inhales and exhales. And if your mind wanders away, just start over at 1. Without judgment. And if you make it all the way to 10, you can start over at 1 again as well. And you can slowly open your eyes as you're ready to. And take a moment to just look around the room. Notice where you are. Maybe there's something pleasing to the eye that you can notice. Beautiful. So I'd like to invite anyone who feels moved, if you'd like to share how that was for you, what you noticed, anything you noticed in the body, anything that was coming up, any insight. Would anyone like to share? Or just how you're feeling, whatever. Would anyone like to share? No worries if not.
I'm feeling much more relaxed, and it was interesting counting to 10 and noticing like how easy my mind can wander, and that the counting of the 10 just, so that was an interesting noticing I had.
Thanks, Alana.
Even if
Did anybody else?
I was just gonna say, even if your video isn't on, we welcome in your voice.
I was just going to say, can anyone relate to what Alana said? Is that true for anyone else, that you were surprised at how often your mind wandered? Yeah. So when I teach this stuff to kids, I love to teach this image of an anchor. I said there's like, you can think of it like your anchor spot, this place in your body where you can feel your breath. And I love the metaphor of anchor because it's so spot on, meaning that how does an anchor work? An anchor works when you're on a boat and you want to stay rooted and grounded in one place. You drop that anchor and it goes deep, deep, deep down. And where does it go down to? It goes down to the ground. And what's it like down there at the bottom of the sea? It's cool, it's calm, it's quiet. And what if on the surface of the water, there's a huge storm and there's huge waves? What's it going to be like deep down there at the bottom? It's still going to be quiet. It's still going to be peaceful. It's still going to be calm. And the idea here is that we all have that place deep inside of us. And sometimes you have to go really, really, really deep down to find it. It's not always easy, but it is there. there is that place deep inside that no matter what is going on around us, whether it's an argument with a loved one, or got fired from my job, or there's a pandemic on the planet, whatever it is, we can find that place deep inside that is always quiet and calm. And the way to find that place is through the breath. I know it's simple. Maybe it's like, it can feel too simple to be true. But there's something about the breath that I really feel like is our greatest and most underappreciated superpower. I mean, it really is amazing. There's a connection between our breath and our mind and our emotions. And if we can learn how to work with the breath and even make a habit of taking deep breaths when we start to feel like that alarm is going off a little bit, that can be enough to change our whole lives. It really can. To keep us in the driver's seat, basically to keep us in our power. Like ultimately, mindfulness is about being in our power and being at choice, responding to life. And the breath is really the key. It's very Jewish too. I'm laughing because in the beginning when I first got on, it was just a lot of people like, do you have any text sheets to share? And I realized, I didn't really prepare this in like a very Jewishly oriented way, but I mean, breath is life. Like God breathes the soul into Adam. Our breath is like our soul. And often when we're in an emotionally reactive state, we're actually not breathing, or we're breathing super fast. And what does that mean? What does that mean about our soul or the integration of our being? On that note, back to emotional intelligence. Erin, yeah, please share. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it was beautiful. I mean, you touched on it directly. I see always a commonality between this word of like breath and spirit, and the central commonality to Hinduism and yoga, which is prana, and also to Tibetan Buddhism. So Lungta means like wind horse, or like the wind, the sort of spiritual energy that takes someone to propel someone to the task or what they want to do. And then there's ruach in Hebrew, which is wind. And I just find this, that wind and breath and spirit are all interestingly correlated in these different traditions. And I just find that really interesting. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you. So back to emotional intelligence. As I said, the first part of emotional intelligence is actually to be able to identify our emotions, which manifest uniquely for all of us. Anger in me might look very different than it looks for you. But we want to get to know them really, really well. Just, as I said, it's really helpful to think of our emotions as friends that visit us. Not like these monsters that we want to push away and are bad. And how would we treat a friend who's visiting? We would want to get to know it really well. We want to be hospitable, and it's like we want to love it. It's a part of ourselves that we need to learn how to love, and part of love is getting to know it. So part of getting to know our emotions is getting familiar with how they actually manifest in our bodies, which is another key, because when we become familiar with what an emotion feels like physiologically, that's going to help us identify when that alarm starts to go off and create that space between that stimulus and response, so that we don't react, so that we can re-regulate and stay in the driver's seat again, stay mindful. So what does it feel like in your body when you're angry? I want to just invite everyone, just show me what it looks like in your body when you're angry. What does anger look like for you? And if you don't have your video on and you want to turn your video on just for this part, I really welcome that. Show me what it looks like when you're angry. Don't be shy. Oh, God. You can even like make some sounds. What is anger? Yeah, so I see scrunched up shoulders. I see scrunched up faces, doing stuff with the hands, with tension. Yeah, I see my own voice, like it's like, oh, and my face gets red. Yeah. So when we start to feel like, oh, there's tension happening, my heart's beating fast, my face is red, that's that moment to become aware, anger's here, I'm angry, time to pause and take that breath and regulate my nervous system. What about sad? Show me sadness in your body. What does sadness feel like? Yeah, like droopy, everything kind of slumps over. Maybe there's a heaviness, there's like a tiredness for me. It's good to, for yourself just to notice, oh yeah, this is sadness. This is how sadness feels when sadness is present. And what does sadness need? That's the right question. Once we're aware, like how do I respond to sadness? Maybe I need a hug. Maybe I need a hot cup of tea. Maybe I need to call a friend. What about fear? Can we go back to we can, yeah. What about fear? Show me what fear looks like in your body. Yeah, maybe there's a sense of frozenness. Maybe the eyes get big. Again, the heart could start beating really fast. Maybe I actually stop breathing when I'm afraid, or I start breathing really fast. So that's fear. And what about excitement? What does excitement look like in your body? Yeah! Sorry, it's like so much energy. We're exploding. We're like a volcano, jumping up and down, excitement. And what about just like peace and contentment? What is that? Show me like a posture of peace and ease. Nice. Beautiful. You all look so peaceful. Yeah. So we want to just become really familiar with what it feels like and looks like and sounds like in our bodies when we're having an emotional experience. So that when we're in that moment in a conversation with someone or scrolling through our Facebook newsfeed or whatever it is, and we're beginning to become activated, like that alarm is going off, we might flip our lid, where we can have the awareness and the skill to actually pause and do something to stay present and re-regulate our nervous system. And then the last thing I want to say about that is that, as I've already mentioned, but I think it bears mentioning again, is that our emotions really are our friends. There's no part of ourselves that is not lovable, and they actually have their own intelligence. It's like they have something to share with us. So we really need to learn how to welcome them in and treat them with love, treat them with awareness, give them what they need. And that doesn't mean that when I'm angry, it's okay to blast off on someone. It might mean that when I'm angry, I need to go punch my pillow or go for a run or dance it out. There's a difference, right? Between like healthy and unhealthy expressions. But it does mean that they're connected with very valid human needs that we have. And it's just important. And mindfulness can also help us to really grok that they're not permanent. They do come and they go. And we can really help them move. We can help them come and they go more easily by being lovingly aware of them and not pushing them away, but opening to them and getting to know them. So to kind of sum it all up, when that's happening, when we're in that emotional state, first step is just to notice it, just to become aware, feeling that in the body. That's our first step, and that's already a big one. A lot of people aren't even there. The second step would be to pause, and the third step is to take a deep breath. Just one deep breath is actually going to change your brain physiologically. It's going to regulate your nervous system even incrementally, which is going to have impact, not just on you, but also on the person who you're engaging with. That's also a neurological function. We have these mirror neurons where unconsciously we're actually imitating each other, and we're kind of imitating each other's nervous system. So it really helps everyone when we can start to do this self-regulation. So even better than one deep breath, take 5 deep breaths, take 10 deep breaths. I shared with you guys that 10 deep, counting the breath thing. It's really helpful. And I promise you, next time you're in a state of overwhelm, like emotional overwhelm or stress or whatever it is, try that out. Like take a moment. You always can. It might not feel like it, but you actually always can pause, unless you're in the woods facing that tiger, but that's, not most of the time. You always can pause, close your eyes, do that breath counting, count to 10 deep breaths, and it will shift something. Try it out for yourselves, don't believe me, but it's been a tool that's been really important for me. So again, first step, to just notice. Second step, pause. Third step, breathe. Take 1 deep breath, take 10 deep breaths, do a 30-minute meditation. And that's going to be the first step. And then from that place, you know, you could even go further and really try to identify that emotion and ask it what it needs. Like, what does sadness need? What does anger need? What does excitement need? What would be a healthy expression of this emotion to allow it to move through? All right. So does anyone have any comments or questions? Anything at all that you want to share? Any stories? Yeah, Pat. You're on mute.
Pat.
You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm just taken with your talk and how you describe mindfulness and just being present. This is so helpful, and it's so nicely explained. I love this whole idea of the hand with flipping the lid. It's just we flip our lids. That's an old expression, and it really means something now. So I want to thank you for this. I just thank you.
You're so welcome. It's my utmost pleasure. Would anybody else like to share any comments, any questions, any stories?
I'll share a thought that I was just having, which is a lot of times I've learned to take these breaths as a way to halt the emotion. And what I'm hearing from you and what I think I've learned myself but haven't had the words for is that it's not to halt the emotion, but to halt the reaction, or to slow the reaction so that you can still feel the feeling, but that you're not reacting, you're responding. And I think a lot of times we teach kids, you do take a deep breath and it'll go away.
Right.
No, it just gives you that space. And I really appreciate that framing of it. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's such an important distinction. I think it's never the objective to make it go away. It doesn't really work. It seems to kind of work in the opposite way, actually, in my experience. When I try to make an emotion go away or make it stop, it tends to just make it stronger or make it transform into some kind of numbness or something like that. So yeah, absolutely. The breath is really just to create that space so that we can respond to that emotion and actually maybe even give it space to express itself in a healthy way. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? I'll share two more things, just like little tools, and especially with young people, with kids. These are really helpful. I don't know if any of you guys spend time with little people, but also I really believe that we're all actually kids inside, just we look different and have more responsibility. But one thing, and I mentioned this before, this phenomenon of the mirror neurons, when facing someone who is in that emotionally overwhelmed moment, I think especially children, if we can get in the habit of noticing that and our habitual response begins to be to just take a deep breath before responding at all, that's going to have such an amazing benefit for ourselves and for that person. And then I wanted to share one more breathing tool that's my favorite breathing tool. to help us focus on our breath and re-regulate and stay mindful. It's called 5-finger breathing, and you can try it with me if you want. So the way it works is you put a finger on the base of your thumb, and as you breathe in, you trace your thumb up, and as you breathe out, you go down. And you do that for all 5 fingers, up and down with the breath, in and out, in and out, and in and out. So this one is really nice because it's tactile, and especially in moments that are particularly emotionally charged, like in a moment where there's a lot of fear or a lot of triggeredness. This one is extremely helpful. It's so helpful to just feel the finger on your skin and make that aligned with the breath. This one has saved me. Honestly, I had a moment a couple of years ago. I was in the car and someone in my family was just going off on me, like yelling at me in a way that I felt was so unfair. And I almost popped off and exploded back at this person. But I literally was sitting in the car in the back seat just doing this, and it worked. It really worked. So yeah. So I think that's all. And you know, to bring it, someone says, will you please repeat the grok? How did I use grok? I think I used, I think I said grok. I think I was saying we want to really grok. What was I saying? I don't even remember what I was saying. Does anybody remember how I used the word grok? I think grok means to like really get it, to really understand, to really comprehend something. So I think there's a lot to grok here. Does anybody remember my specific usage of the word grok? We can grok our emotions. We can grok what mindfulness is really about. We can do a lot of grokking. The last thing I want to say, oh, sorry, Kimberly. Can Kimberly unmute, or can Kimberly be unmuted?
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself now.
Hi, yes, thank you. For me, when I was first introduced to the word grok, I think it was in like Designing Your Life book, but it's from Heinlein. It's from Stranger in a Strange Land. I remember reading that, back in high school or whatnot. But it's the idea that you really like know something in your body, not just like intellectually know it, but like deeply like know it in a feeling way. And I just really love that distinction, right? I think like it's just great to have a word for it, right? So something that is a meaningful distinction, but like to just have a word that summarizes the difference of like knowing deeply in your body, because to me it's like a new language, right? I'm not used to knowing like what my body is even feeling, or being able to name what I'm feeling, or like that's all like new for me. I feel like I'm learning a new language, right? And so to have a different word for like that kind of knowing feels exciting and like meaningful.
Thank you, Kimberly. Yes, 100%. It's such an awesome word. I love that. Yeah, there's that knowing that's intellectual and that knowing that's really embodied and integrated. We're definitely going for that integrated way of being and way of being aware. So the last thing I want to say, just to kind of wrap the bundle, is I just want to bring us, just want to throw in my favorite verse of all time from our textual tradition from Leviticus, which is one I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, this statute that we love our neighbor as ourselves. You love your neighbor as yourself. And I had a teacher, Ruth Jacobson, who explained that this isn't, it's often interpreted as a command, like you should love your neighbor as yourself, but actually it could be read as just a description of how it is, that you do love your neighbor as yourself, meaning that the way that you treat your neighbor is very connected to the way that we treat and know and love ourselves. And so I'm a big believer in the idea that changing the world and impacting each other begins inside, begins with our own self-awareness. And so that's a big reason why I'm so passionate about sharing mindfulness and these tools to cultivate self-awareness and to care for ourselves. We can change the world from that place. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll just write in the chat here if anyone is interested in exploring mindfulness meditation in a Jewish context. I'm affiliated and on the faculty of a beautiful organization called jewishLIVE, which has amazing teachings and retreats in the States and in Israel. It's all virtual actually right now. And there's also one called Awakened Heart Project. So you can check out both of those websites if you want. I'll write them in the chat. And you're also welcome to reach out to me on Facebook or email or whatever. I'd be happy to continue the conversation and take any questions or anything at all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rebecca. What a treat to have you with us here today and to learn with you. I feel so much more grounded for my day. And Alana here from Wilderness Torah, the team, and wanted to say thank you all for being here and grateful to be in a virtual community with everyone on this call. Just wanted to share some of our other offerings this week. On Wednesday, we have Sounds of Prophecy with Rabbi Ariel Wolp. And on Thursday, we have The Nature of Revelation with Rabbi Zelig. And Friday, we have an awesome 3-hour-long event, which is in collaboration with Hazon, Pearlstone, and Urban Anama for Shavuot. And it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have storytelling and singing and goat visits and cheese making, text study, and more. So y'all should come check that out. Rabbi Zelig will also be doing a text study there. You can check out our website, newsletter, Facebook, or Instagram for more updates and other details. If you've really enjoyed Virtual Village with us, please consider sharing it with friends and family. You can invite folks from really all over the world now that we're in this virtual space, and invite people to our Facebook events. And my peer, Sarah Elise, will put some links in the chat to our website, donation page, and a feedback form. We'd love to hear from you how you think we're doing. We also appreciate any donations, big or small. And yeah, just want to say another huge thank you to Rebecca calling in from Israel, and just feel super grateful to have been with you this morning and learn some new tools around mindfulness. And yeah, I pass it back to you if you have any other closing words. And other than that, yeah, I hope you all have a beautiful day. And yeah.
No closing words, just thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yay. Alrighty, well, blessings to you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great